I am writing to express my freedom of speech, to inform and educate. On July 16th, 2003, I found my 18-year-old son in his bed. He had died in his sleep. Much to my shock after reading his computer entries, he and his friends had been experimenting with many of the drugs that he found listed on this website, but DXM appeared to be his drug of choice. It appears through the information left behind on his computer and the autopsy report that on the night that he died, he had mixed DXM and fentanyl. This was a talented and intelligent young man with many artistic gifts, but with many questions about life. I feel that he had carefully studied and calculated, but there are no guarantees. I want other kids to know that a fatal outcome is a very real possibility. It may happen the first time, or after several successful and uncomplicated trips. There were no warning signs, no chances to help. I grieve every day for this very tragic loss and want others to know that their choices affect them and the people who love them. I've been using heroin for several years and have a daily habit of approximately 5 bags. One day, I couldn't get my hands on any dope, and someone I live with who has a prescription for fentanyl patches gave me one to ease the withdrawal symptoms. When worn on the skin correctly, fentanyl patches take several hours to start working, so I squeeze the gel inside the patch directly into the reservoir of my insulin needle by taking the plunger out of the back. When I administered the fentanyl IV, I remember a very strong taste when I hit the plunger and took the blast. I don't even remember taking the works out of my arm after I took the shot. After that, all I know was what I've been told by my family, who called 911 when they found me. In the ambulance, paramedics gave me a shot of Narcan, which brought me back. I was told I almost died that day. The person who gave me the patch died last week from a fentanyl overdose administered in his veins. To anyone about to take the blast or shoot a fentanyl patch, be careful, because it could be your last. R.I.P. M. Casper. I suggest being very careful when doing this. Actually, I do not recommend it at all. I got a 50 microgram fentanyl patch, put it on my tongue, and got the whole dose at once. I got an extremely nice high. Body, mind, everything. I get to my house. Then the next thing I know, paramedics are all around me and my dad is shaking me. Apparently, I stopped breathing and was almost dead, the EMT said. Other people also had experiences like this one, so I have read. People, please be careful when dosing fentanyl. It is very strong when you put the patch in your mouth. Anyone considering the use of fentanyl, especially in conjunction with the benzodiazepine, should read this. I do not recommend the combination. Some personal background information. I have been smoking marijuana and using various other drugs for about 7 years now. I have used MDMA about 24 times, and on this particular evening, I took 150 milligrams of MDMA with some friends. This was a typical MDMA experience for me, and I noticed nothing out of the ordinary. Typically, after MDMA effects wear off, I like to take a low to medium dose of opiates or benzodiazepine to help me relax. At about 12:30 p.m., after the MDMA had worn off, I took 12.5 micrograms of the fentanyl patch and chewed it in my mouth along with 5 milliliter of midazolam syrup, equivalent to 10 milligrams, which I drank. I had taken this dose of fentanyl about 4 to 5 times in this manner, so I was familiar with the effects. I have had a lot of experience with various benzodiazepines and had a bit of a tolerance, but the midazolam was new to me. From research I had done online, the midazolam should have been equivalent to about 1 milligram of alprazolam, which is not high for me. This was also the first time that I had taken fentanyl in combination with a benzodiazepine of any sort. After about 15 to 20 minutes, I completely blacked out. Apparently after I blacked out, my breathing soon became difficult and stopped, so my friends took me to the ER. I came to consciousness in an emergency room. My entire body was paralyzed. I learned later that I had been injected with a form of curare. I could not open my eyes or talk, but I was completely aware of what people were saying around me. My parents had been called in, and they were unsure if I was alive. I wanted to tell them that I could hear them, but I could not do anything. The paralyzing drug eventually wore off, and I was barely able to move my fingers and track with my eyes, at which point they realized I was indeed alive. The doctor said I was lucky to be alive, let alone not brain damaged, as I had a high blood acidity level and had been unconscious and not breathing for quite some time. I recovered in a matter of hours and fortunately did not have any complications. Again, I am lucky to be alive. Had I been alone or with friends that did not realize the peril I was in, I would probably not be here today to tell this story. In retrospect, I probably should have tried the midazolam without fentanyl before combining the two, but I have a feeling that any sort of medium dose of benzodiazepine probably has a large effect on fentanyl. I have combined benzodiazepines with other opiates such as hydrocodone and oxycodone, as well as morphine with no adverse effects. Use extreme caution if you enjoy fentanyl, but in my opinion, you should probably not even consider taking a benzodiazepine in conjunction with it. It was a pleasant day in the Pacific Northwest when I was out walking my dog in order to check my mailbox for a special package of 1 gram of fentanyl to arrive via the darknet. During the walk, I had a special feeling it would arrive. As it turned out, it did. First class postage from Pittsburgh. I had never tried fentanyl before, yet I had researched it consecutively since the time I ordered it. I have a friend, R, who I did not tell of my stash, nor my boyfriend S. S is strongly against opioids, yet is a psychedelic fanatic. This was simply something I wanted to try alone. Bad idea. After insufflating roughly 6 milligrams of fentanyl, there was nothing in my stomach left to puke. Although I was really, really high, I had never experienced being so intoxicated. Although I have tried hydrocodone, this reached far, far beyond that. I sit down in the shower and cannot stop itching and rubbing my nose and face. I get out high as a kite and make sure I have an empty trash can in case I need to puke again while I lie down. Lo and behold, while emptying my trash bin, I found my bag of powder Xanax I ordered through the mail. I had been looking for it for days, having thrown it away in a benzoed stupor, I suppose. It seemed to me I hit the lottery and decided, what the hell, let's do this motherfucker. There I am on the couch, straw in hand, making lines of powdered Xanax. I wake up in the hospital with a syringe of saline in my right arm, in a nurse's gown, hair smelling of vomit, and the absolute worst chest pain I have ever had. I fall asleep. I am awoken by a nurse offering me water. It turns out I had overdosed on both substances and had to be taken by paramedics. I get a call on the hospital phone from S, my boyfriend, crying and telling me how my lips were blue and how he had to do CPR on me until the paramedics arrived. Well, that explains the chest pain. Please, please, do not mix these substances. I found an empty 100 microgram fentanyl patch after seeing one in my mom's trash bag the other day, and decided to chew it up. I cut it up into 4 equal-sized chunks and began chewing. I noticed the familiar warm fentanyl drift feeling. I put a pizza in the oven and sat down to pet my dog, as I felt waves of warmth shoot up my hands and feet. The next thing I know, I'm waking up to a paramedic's face, and a flashlight inches from my face, and a bag valve mask literally pumping life back into me. with a tube down my throat. My ears rang. I was completely deaf and confused. I went into and out of consciousness on the way out to the ambulance, and breathing became a conscious effort for me. Luckily, it was Christmas Eve, and my parents walked in about 30 minutes later to find me dead on the floor, not breathing, no pulse. My dad administered chest compressions, and I'm not sure why I'm not in a coma or dead right now. Instead, I'm sitting here typing to you a little over 24 hours since it happened. My dad saved my life, no doubt. Then I got to sit in a hospital where the ER doctor treated me like a total piece of shit, where he really had every right to because I looked just like every other shithead junkie white kid he sees once a week. He started to treat me a little better after my drug test only showed positive for marijuana, and not even opiates, even in recently light of an overdose. He was convinced that I was also speedballing with methamphetamines or coke because my heart rate was over 170 beats per minute and AFib on arrival. He was convinced that I was trying to speedball myself to death, but all of that was due to the massive dose of Narcan I was given. I spent a night in the hospital and was discharged a few hours ago. I have scared the living shit out of all my family, girlfriend, and I'm unsure of my employment status at the moment due to the work I missed. I was supposed to work yesterday and today, but Merry Christmas to me, I guess. I got my second chance in life today, and I'm eternally grateful to the quick action of my parents and the paramedics.